Random House Audio presents Playbook 2012, The Right Fights Back by Mike Allen and Evan Thomas. Read for you by Mike Chamberlain. Introduction. One of the prerogatives of being Politico editor-in-chief is the ability at any time to feel I know what's really going on in Washington. All I need to do is sidle up to Mike Allen, our senior reporter and star of our show, and ask, "What's going on?" Mike, a friend of 2 decades since our days as young reporters in Richmond, Virginia, will smile and, custom designing his stories around what he knows of the specific interests of his audience, announce enthusiastically, "You will love this." Then we'll pour forth a torrent of the latest news about high-level maneuverings among familiar names at the White House or Congress or presidential campaigns, along with low-level scuttlebutt about their triumphs and tantrums, breakups and makeups, humor and hubris. All the quotidian details that establish these people might be human beings after all. These conversations with Mike are the pure and unfiltered version of what Mike gives to readers every day in his now famous Politico Playbook, the feeling, and even some of the reality, of being an insider. My reaction to talking with Mike is usually the same. Man, it would be great to get some of this stuff on the site. Sometimes we can, or already have. Other times we can't, or intend to, but don't, or whatever. Life rushes by too fast, or it would look strange to order up a whole story just so we can find a home for one juicy morsel. So some portion of Mike's tips, like those of other great Politico reporters, stays dormant, tantalizing, but undeveloped. The prospect that more of Mike's reporting and analytical intelligence could be shared with readers was one reason, among many, that we were so intrigued by the idea Random House editor John Meacham presented us some months back. His proposal was to write a series of ebooks telling, in serialized form, the story of the 2012 presidential campaign. The hope is that this format will allow the revival of the kind of detail-laden insider narratives the news magazines used to publish immediately in the wake of presidential campaigns. These stories made for arresting special editions of the magazines, and were often expanded to be published in book-length form. Instead of waiting to produce one giant text, why not use the speed and dexterity made possible by digital publishing to produce these accounts in something more like real time? He also threw in an irresistible bonus. Mike could collaborate with the brilliant writer Evan Thomas, someone all of us in the leadership of Politico had known and admired for many years. Meacham and I are kindred spirits of sorts. We are of the same generation. It turns out he knew my wife from their shared time at the Washington Monthly before I did. We both grew up and prospered professionally, he at Newsweek and me at the Washington Post, in what I think of as the media old order. A world in which big and powerful news brands had robust business models and awesome editorial power to set the national agenda. At mid-career, with the old order diminished in some places or crumbled altogether in others, we both face the same imperative to answer the question, what's next for our business and the kind of journalism we think is important? Politico began 5 years ago, in January 2007, with Mike, Jim Vandehei, and me as co-founders in the newsroom, in large measure out of an urgent desire to arrive at a good and preferably prosperous answer to this question. We found an answer that works for us with a niche publication, producing content aimed at people who share our intense, even obsessive, interest in national politics and the workings of Washington. But our work is forever incomplete. Politico's publisher, Robert Albritton, and CEO, Fred Ryan, are constantly encouraging us to find new arenas of experimentation. The Random House collaboration is one of those important arenas. John Meacham's work at Random House is likewise a manifestation of someone obsessing over the question, what's next? Like people at Politico, he and his Random House colleagues are not content to live their lives in a defensive crouch, squinting longingly through the mist at a fast-receding golden era. Far better to aim to create a new golden era, based on the abundant publishing opportunities that exist in the here and now. Optimism in the media business is partly a choice, a matter of willpower. But it is more than that. It is true, undeniably, that the digital age has not on balance been friendly to long-form narrative and argument. The web has instead put a premium on speed, brevity, and monomania for the story of the moment. No problem with that, I must hasten to add, as editor of a publication that has prospered through speed, brevity, and monomania. But I agree strongly with a view advanced by my colleague Jim Vandehei. These traits, while absolutely necessary on certain types of stories, no longer constitute a distinctive comparative advantage. In the age of Twitter, there are virtually infinite competitors on these fronts. A publication like Politico must harness its future to original content that cannot easily be replicated by competitors. We have seen many times of late, most recently during Politico's reporting on Herman Cain's travails with accusations of sexual harassment, the ability of enterprise reporting to drive the conversation in the parlance of our newsroom, in national politics. People in the new era, like those in the old era or in any era, like good stories. It is how we understand human experience and human character. This timeless truth is combining with technological advances, iPads and Kindles and their competitors, to make reading in-depth stories in electronic form a far more congenial experience. In sum, long-form narrative may be making a revival in the digital age. At least we are prepared to put some chips on that square. If this volume works, it is in large measure due to the special chemistry between Evan and Mike. At first, their differences seem most striking. From the magazine world, Evan has been writing stories like this one his entire career. From a newspaper background, Mike grew up telling stories in staccato bursts. But these first blush appearances can be misleading. Evan has an intensely topical and news-driven sensibility. "We need car chases," he would sometimes say when describing what he wanted in the narrative. Mike, meanwhile, beneath his hard news facade, is not simply an in-the-moment reporter, but one keenly perceptive of character and the long-term forces that shape any given day's news. We see the results of their journalistic rapport on every page of this chronicle of the opening phase of the 2012 contest, with its special emphasis on the Republican side, in the stories of Mitt Romney's efforts to turn weakness into strength and claim the mantle of inevitability, to Rick Perry's blast-off and partial return to earth as voters and donors alike came to inspect the goods, the Cain imbroglio, and even the fateful decisions of people like Sarah Palin and Haley Barbour not to run for president. As Barbour discovered, there's nothing quite like reading a campaign oppo report on yourself. What Mike and Evan do in this first volume is what we try to do every day at Politico: defend and vindicate traditional journalism and its cardinal values, even while updating the craft for the new age we live in. That they do it so well is one more reason for optimism and for more experimentation about the future of things we care about. John F. Harris, Editor-in-Chief. When Mitt Romney ran for president the first time around in 2008, he started out too cocky and wound up gun-shy. One day, as he was getting off a plane shuttling between Iowa and New Hampshire, turning to Stuart Stevens, the latest in a series of consultant.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?